Many Americans have heard about and some have personally experienced the shortage of personal protective equipment that has affected the country throughout this coronavirus pandemic. It's also exposed some weaknesses in the Trump administration's response to the pandemic nationally. I spoke yesterday with Craig Fugate, the former FEMA administrator under President Barack Obama, who knows a thing or two about moving critical supplies around a country during a time of crisis. What is your overall impression of how the COVID-19 pandemic has been handled by this administration so far?
Well, I don't even think it's just this administration. We've been slow to need. Some local governments and some governors got out ahead of this, and we see the results where we've been able to flatten the curve. But where we got behind, we saw the numbers shoot up quite high. So we lost containment. There's been missed opportunities, and we got behind, and the impacts were much greater than what we had hoped it would be.
Should a FEMA administrator, I know that was your old job, know the number of masks, gloves, ventilators that are being distributed?
Those stockpiles were already being dispersed prior to FEMA being put into that role. So I think we have to understand that FEMA walked in midway through this response. A lot of things were already in motion. These stockpiles are actually managed by Health and Human Services under their programs there. And for FEMA, it was coming in midstream, trying to get hold of, well, how much is left, what's already been promised, what's been delivered, what's being sent out there, and then look at the supply chain of how fast things will be coming back in. I think this is part of the reason why FEMA took the extraordinary step to start leasing aircraft and chartering aircraft to start flying supplies directly from China, pretty much bypassing the whole medical supply chain to speed up getting them where they're needed. But that being said, we had shortfalls all over the place. And as I caution people, FEMA can't manage what FEMA doesn't have. And when the stockpiles were empty, there was nothing left.
The president has repeatedly said in the last few weeks that he inherited an empty shelf from the previous administration. Did the Obama administration set President Trump up for failure like he is alleging?
Well, there were drawdowns on the stockpiles and cuts in budgets, both at the state and federal levels, both because of the Great Recession, but also because of the budget restraints of sequestration. So there were impacts at all levels of government, particularly state and local due to the recession, that we have not all recovered from. But I also think if you've been in office for 3.5 years, you don't get to blame the other team anymore. You own it.
What is the biggest problem that you see ahead now for this country as we're trying to grapple with this pandemic?
The challenges are going to be rapid testing. I think people see flattening the curve as some sign that it's getting better and this will be over soon. This isn't like the flu, where once you get over your peak flu season, it dissipates. All we're doing is buying time. And if we relax social distancing too early without testing, we risk further flare-ups and more impacts from this virus. So flattening the curve doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean it's ending. The only end to COVID-19 is when there's an effective vaccine that's administered to enough people that the virus can no longer spread in our populations.